Hi everyone, I am here today with Kari Lonczak, the creator and owner of Refined Organizing, and we're going to talk a little bit about the organizing method that you follow, as well as the different tips and tricks that she has for homeowners or for people who are just trying to make their spaces a little bit more clutter-free and calm. So first things first, you are certified in the KonMari method.
Yes.
Can you kind of give us a breakdown of what that looks like, just in simpler terms?
Sure. So the KonMari method was created by Marie Kondo. You maybe have heard of her from her book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, as well as maybe her Netflix show.
Yes.
Yes. And so she trains consultants who are certified in her method to spread the joy that she coined. So kind of the key differentiator of what makes that different from more traditional organizing is in the ethos first, where it's coming from a place of abundance and you're thinking about what you want to keep and carry forward with you rather than what do I want to get rid of. And it's amazing how just that little rephrasing of something can help you really hone in on what it's more about your life than about your stuff and how can this complement you. And it makes you more aware of your attachment to things, what things represent to you. It kind of reveals certain areas where you're stuck, and it ends up being a little bit more like therapy than just putting things in order.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love therapy. So this is fab. Okay. That's beautiful. I don't know if I've ever heard it described that way. I feel like we often are only thinking about what do I not need? What do I not need? And trying to get all of that out. And so this is an interesting way to think of it, trying to say, how does this add to my life in a different way?
Yeah, especially because so much of why people hold on to things is because of guilt, or maybe it's a gift that they received. They feel bad getting rid of it. Maybe it's something they spent a lot of money on and they haven't used and they feel guilty about that. So there's guilt about getting rid of things. Where is it going? Is it being reused? Is it filling the landfill? I feel bad about all of this. And instead, when you think about it of how do these things serve me? What is positive about it? What do I want to keep? That really helps unblock a lot of things.
Oh my God, I love it.
Oh, and then the other big piece is expressing gratitude in that release moment, because everything has come to you. That gift you feel guilty about keeping, you can just appreciate that it was so thoughtful they thought of you, and appreciating that. Maybe you take a picture of it and that's all you need is to remember this card or remember this collage that they made, but you don't actually need the item anymore.
Okay, well, I feel like this is like, you've set me up for the perfect segue. That spark joy. I think a lot of us, especially if we watched the TV show years ago, we learned the term, does it spark joy? And I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like maybe we've taken that kind of out of context in a different way. Like, does it spark joy? Do you want to do this? Does it spark joy? It's kind of become like
it's
more
like
of
a meme.
Yeah, it's become more of a meme. And I am curious, can you kind of break that down a little bit, or like, how does that term play a part? Or does it anymore? Because it's been a while.
As with anything, the terms resonate with different people. So for that, really, it's what is something that is bringing value or happiness to your life at the end of the day. And that can be a range of strength of a feeling. Like at its strongest, maybe it's a sweater that you feel fabulous in or really cozy in, and it likes this strong attachment to it, and that's how you know you want to keep it. Maybe it's really pragmatic and you're like, I love having clean hands, and this soap is exactly what I need for that. I definitely want to keep it. But then conversely, if it's, oh, this sweater is lumpy and I actually feel really crappy when I wear it, then that tells you something. Or the soap has a really strong scent and I really hate it and I never use it and it sits on my counter and I always pass it over.
Or like, I feel like I should use it, so I keep it. It's not the same. Okay, awesome.
Yes, and so I think what's really amazing about the ethos behind it and the spark joy, or the what's valuable and bringing you happiness as a baseline, it's the most flexible North Star for any method, because really at the end of the day, what you want to surround yourself with is things that's furthering your ideal life. It's not like, did you wear it in the past year? Like, what's the math behind like the rules of what you should keep?
I love the math. I use that so much.
It can be, well, don't get me wrong, those are helpful prompts to get you thinking about something, and that can trigger like the why behind it. It's still sitting there, or maybe it is time to let it go. But that again speaks down to, what is it furthering the life that you want to have?
Yes. The vision.
Yes.
It's like trying to zoom out and see the vision of what your life looks like versus. Oh, that's so interesting.
So the goal being everything that you keep, whether it's really pragmatic or really emotional, it's something you're intentionally choosing. Practicing making that decision with all of the items in your home and surrounding yourself with that. It's practicing you doing that in your life. And it's interesting how that starts to spill over. You realize that comes into play with your activities, your hobbies, your relationships, your job. And you start realizing, does my job spark joy? Does this really add value? Does this, are these friendships adding value?
Yes.
Those types of things.
I love it. It does feel a little like therapy.
It is. We're often thought of as kind of unlicensed therapists.
Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. Us too.
Yeah.
Us too. It's a lot.
Sure.
When you're in someone's home, it's such a different feeling. Like in their things and their items, it does reflect values in many different ways. You end up getting in there. Wow, that is very cool. Okay, so I know for me at least, I walk into a lot of people's homes. Sometimes they're living there and sometimes they're not. And so as an agent, especially when people are living there are a few things that I notice immediately when I walk into a home that someone is currently occupying. I am so curious, and not in a judgmental way, but I'm curious if when you walk into somebody's space, if there are things that stand out to you immediately as a home organizer.
Like in terms of clients or just in your own life?
Yeah, like clients, especially as someone who has an eye for this, like what are the things that stand out when you walk into somebody's space from like a clutter-free perspective?
Yeah, so probably the things I noticed first would be any drop zones, like where things are naturally collecting based on the flow of a space, based on their habits that are becoming evident, like right by front doors is pretty common, like where does the mail end up, those kinds of things. Same with like kids' toys, where are they being used and where are they being kind of abandoned? Like how can we create other zones that have a system in there that is easy to then reset really easily later on.
Totally.
And then the second thing too is kind of on the positive flip side, it's noticing the personality in the space. It's like, what art do they have? What crafts do they have? What hobbies are kind of coming out based on in the piles? What's kind of hidden and like, what are they saying? Because those are the things that you want to highlight. Because a lot of, at its foundation with the KonMari method, you're trying to make things accessible and honored. So how can we display the things that you really love rather than keeping it hidden in a box? How can we make your hobby supplies accessible so that you're more likely to use them? How do we create peace with all of these different areas and so that you get use out of the things you've intentionally chosen to keep?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's also like, yes, we are maybe creating a more clutter-free space, but also the you of the space is being highlighted more.
Yes, one of my favorite examples is my aunt, who's just naturally really good at this, but she has like this silver tea set that's like an antique that was handed down from some generations, and she highlights it on this beautiful shelf, but she doesn't just leave it there to collect dust. She uses it every day at 4 p.m. for tea, and it's this marrying of getting use out of the precious in her everyday, which is great.
Cool. I feel like this goes so much deeper than just like buying some organizational crates and like calling it a day. I love this.
Absolutely.
I feel like this particular thing is very helpful because at the end of the day, I know that it's so much bigger. Like what you do is so much bigger. But since we have people who are going to be watching this and they're, for the few minutes out of their day that they have, is there like one organizational tip? Is there something that stands out that you wish more people knew about or maybe added to their life?
I guess it's not like a quick tip necessarily to implement, but again, at its core, if everything has a home, that's the ultimate goal, but make sure that you've baked into there almost like an inbox and an outbox, because you're going to have that flow of things because life happens. So make a home for those like transition limbo pieces. That's part of your system. So like, where's your mail coming in? Where are your returns staged to leave? Like this has to go to a friend. Okay, we've built in these areas so that you don't have all the dispersed piles of, oh, like I actually forgot to return that thing because I missed the date because it was buried in the corner of this other thing.
Yeah.
So a home can be for things that need to be addressed. Maybe not in this moment because we don't have the time to do it at all times.
Yeah. All right. I know for me, something that really overwhelms me about the cleaning side of things is I truly feel like I have to set aside a whole week to actually declutter my home, to throw away what needs to be thrown away, to donate, to make time to get things to, Goodwill or whatever. And so I don't do it. And I'm really curious if you have like any quick tips or anything that someone could follow if they have like 30 minutes or an hour to feel like they've made a difference.
Maybe two approaches. It kind of depends on what the goal is. If, for instance, you're just feeling really overwhelmed by your immediate surroundings and you're just needing to dispel a little bit of that, and you're like at your desk and it's just insane and your cord management is like going, exploding.
You're speaking to the right person. This is it.
Maybe that's your small scope project. You like set a timer so you know it's not going to be indefinite. Get your cable management under control.
Yes.
And then like clear off your desk. And it's kind of, the formula is categorize, downsize, organize. So group like things together, categorize. Downsize if you can, just looking through like, oh, this is broken paperclip. Oh, this is whatever. These are the markers. Okay, these don't even work anymore. Toss. And then organize, put them back. Maybe it's pretty near what you had before because it's just a small space, but now it's a little tidier. Your cables are okay. And then that is a little bit of an immediate immediate like dopamine hit
Yes.
of, okay, did something, momentum's built, I feel better in my immediate surroundings. But if it's a little bit more of like a holistic, I can't quite name why I'm so overwhelmed by my stuff, or it's kind of leached everywhere situation. Part of the KonMari method is that it's a bit of like one and done. You go through this process, it turns this like spaghetti bowl, I tidy, like little here, there, I'm just kind of shuffling things around, like why does it never end, into a linear process. There's a specific, because we didn't touch on this earlier, but with this you go category by category instead of room by room. So then you really see your duplicates. Oh, I have 7 pairs of scissors. Do I actually need 7 pairs of scissors? Maybe, but maybe not. And then you go in a specific order. So the order is clothing, books, papers, kimono, which is miscellaneous. And so that can be very tailored to you.
The junk drawer.
You could be, but that usually ends up being like office supplies or tools, things like that. But also like kitchen is part of that. Maybe it's camping gear, maybe it's hobby equipment, things like that. And then sentimental is at the end. That's key. So a lot of people will go room by room. They start in like their chaotic living room, then they hit like a box of photos and they get totally derailed. They're not ready to deal with that. Don't deal with that first. Don't start at level 10. Start with the things that are easier to make decisions about. They're generally speaking more replaceable. And so you start honing your ability to part with things and feeling that.
It's like you're building a muscle.
Yes. So back to the like, if you're going to really see the results of this, you kind of need to go through the whole flow. But you can break it down and do it in tiny bites if all you have is 30 minutes to an hour of the time. So you can go through that same flow, but just in smaller subcategories. So starting with clothing, maybe you're only going to deal with your shoes. Maybe you're going to only deal with your winter hats and gloves. Or your tops, whatever that is.
Well, that's probably mine. The issue is that I start in my closet and there's so much in there. There's bags, there's shoes, there's coats, there's scarves, there's like, you know, the underwear drawer, everything is happening. And so I end up just feeling like I'm plucking out what I know I don't use, throwing it away and being like, that must be enough. But then it doesn't feel any different in there.
So there's some calmness I found to having it feel very linear, because you know, like, okay, I've done all the purses. It doesn't really matter where they're located. I've just done them all. And at the end, we'll have done everything. And then I will have touched everything in my entire place. And as you go, you're putting things back in kind of homes with an asterisk, because some of that you'll end up opening up new space as you go. And then it's like final home, maybe a more optimal location you now realize you have space for. And so that also removes a bit of stress on the perfectionism of like, I don't know if they should live here because there's like really not that much space. It's not ideal, or it's okay. It's just for now. We'll come back to it.
So I think you're probably picking this up for me a little bit. The idea of bringing somebody into my home to like open up my junk drawer and to see all the crazy stuff and ways that I've stored things. I mean, I am like a piles person for sure. I seem organized, but like in the drawer, it's a disaster. And I know that about myself, but I don't know how comfortable I would feel having somebody else who like isn't my husband to see that. And I always say I'm going to set aside the time, and I usually never do. And then it just keeps staying a problem. And so I'm wondering, do you have anything, any piece of advice or like any wise words for those of us who are afraid of bringing someone else who can guide us through that process?
Definitely.